My name's Priscilla De La Torre,
And my name is Jordan Hemp,
and you're listening to Off the Market Confessions.
where we talk about real stories, real estate, and real life. We're back on the pod with Off the Market Confessions. Today, we have a special guest named Rachel Stiles. She's a sales executive with Valley Title of Yakima. Rachel has been in the business in title for about 5.5 years now. She started on the escrow side and she's moved her way to sales. And Rachel works closely with realtors, lenders, buyers, and sellers to ensure a smooth, accurate, and on-time closing. She's really passionate about making sure that buyers and sellers understand the roles of all of the people involved to make sure that they can confidently get their deals to closing. She's been recognized for her sales performance, market growth efforts, and her leadership within Valley Title. And when she's not working, you can find her spending time with her blended family, her husband, Matt, their dogs, and she usually likes to stay active, and they love cheering on their favorite sports teams. All right, well, welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having
Welcome,
me.
welcome.
Yes.
So-
it's great. I love what you've done with the place. This is
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
For the record, this is our second time recording this because we had a botched first episode.
We had
So
technical
We
difficulties.
are really grateful that
Now
you
we're
took the
pros.
time to come back. So let's start by, I want to learn a little bit about you, your history. I want to know kind of how you grew up and what you're doing, how you got to where you are now.
So I've lived in Yakima my whole life, and I've kind of done a number of different things, kind of trying to figure out where my calling was and where I really needed to be, which I'm super happy I am in the place I am now. I really feel like there's so much room to grow, and I love the real estate industry, and everybody that I've met in it, and relationship building with everybody has been wonderful. But started out, just, being a young girl doing worked in an espresso bar, did sales for 12.5 years in the restaurant industry, did a little bit of everything. But COVID, actually, it was kind of an interesting story. But I left a job knowing that it was going to be so wild out there in the streets, trying to find a job. I was like, holy cow, this COVID thing is not going away. And so it was like June of 2020, and Valley Title was hiring, and they're essential. Everybody was working, and the real estate market was wild at the time. It was it was a great spot for me to land doing something different and challenging myself, which it definitely was a challenge because it's a very niche, avenue of
the
work.
industry,
It's-
right? Yeah.
It's just there's nothing like it. And so kind of getting into that and being reassured, like, hey, it's not a big deal if you don't know how to do this. Really, nobody does. We're going to train you, and it was a very crazy learning process. And escrow and title, both ends of the title and escrow industry, it's different work, but it's a lot of course the same. But it is very challenging and high stress sometimes, especially when I first started. It was really crazy. So it's like a sink or swim.
This time of all time
Yes.
for real estate. So
Yeah.
you were like having to learn quick.
Yeah. I remember the girls were just, coffee like you wouldn't believe, and just sitting there just going like, just watch me. I'm like,
oh my God.
okay, I'm going to try to pick up this, but also what do you guys do here again?
Right.
Before you show me how,
Yeah.
I need to kind of know
What even is,
why,
what even
then
is
how.
title? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what
Yeah.
even is title and escrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have paid more attention when I purchased the house.
Oh,
So
I thought when you were training.
oh yeah, I know.
what are you
I
telling
probably
us?
did too.
You
It's
still
like,
don't know what
I
you're
just
doing?
gonna circle and just pretend like I'm busy.
So you said June 2021?
2020.
Oh, 2020.
Mhm.
Okay. So right when the shutdown, because that happened in 2020, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I left my job that I was at in April,
Mhm.
and was just going to take a little time to just kind of do a little soul searching and kind of figure out where I wanted to go next, what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And once I kind of, decided, okay, I need to kind of took my time to myself, and then I thought, okay, I need to kind of see where my next stop is. And then I kind of got a little frantic. Everybody was applying for work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't really applied for a job in like 12.5 years.
Mhm.
So then I was like, how do I do this? I can't actually even go into anyone's office and see if they're hiring because their
Right.
doors are shut.
Right.
Some people aren't open. Okay, then I guess now there's apps. I have to download these hiring apps. So it was wild. It was a wild time to try to find
Yeah.
a job, but it ended up working out really well. So
And when
blessing in
you-
disguise.
When you started, you weren't in the position that you are now, or you were?
No, I wasn't in the position that I am in now. I was an escrow assistant, or like a transaction coordinator.
Mhm.
So really doing a lot of the research and a lot of it's all behind the scenes, right? Work. But I would say if you like puzzles and you like
Mhm.
stress and you like
Stress.
high,
If you like stress.
come
I
see
love
us.
that.
Because it's, especially then, like there's just so much to do. There's
Mhm.
so much, and every transaction is a little snowflake. There's never two that are the same. They're
Mhm.
always different.
Yeah.
So there's really not a good, you know, rule of thumb as far as the way everything routinely is going to work
Mhm.
in our business,
Mhm.
because everything is just completely different. You could just be needing to come into our office because you're getting a second loan, a home
Right.
equity line of credit.
Mhm.
Well, really, there's not usually a ton for us to do
Mhm.
because we're just adding a second loan. We're
Mhm.
not clearing title,
Right.
so
Right.
to speak. So certain, I don't know, it's just, it's weird. Everything can be, right? That's a
Mhm.
very simple example, but something difficult might be a commercial transaction where someone's
Mhm.
selling like a store and there's inventory in the store. And so now we have to also account for the inventory in the sale. And, there's the LLC. So there's multiple signers and they're all over the
Mhm.
country, or
Mhm.
there can be a number of different things, but
Yeah.
it's always different.
Always
So-
different.
Well, and that's really great, because if somebody is listening and they're considering a job change or something, I think that some people look at the job of a realtor and they're like, okay, that's maybe a little bit too much freedom of irregularity.
Mhm.
And so if you want something that brings some diversity to the day-to-day job, but you want some schedule regularity, title and escrow would be a good place to go. A lot of people, I think it's dry, but it's really not. I mean, you just get different stuff every single day, different challenges and stuff. So it keeps you sharp. I
Mhm.
think that's a really good
Absolutely.
outlet, something that people might want to know. So
For the people that aren't or that are watching that don't know what title and escrow is, can you tell them or briefly
Yeah.
explain?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know when I was new for a long time, I even went to a class about title and escrow, and I was like, what are they talking about? What does that even mean?
Yeah. It's
So-
for the most part on paper, it's super boring.
Mm.
But it's so basically what we do at Valley Title or any title company involved in a transaction is we're going to take a transaction, we're going to handle it and finish the transaction as a non-interested third party. So we're going to take funds in, we're going to distribute funds, everything is all documented. But also what we're doing is we are researching the property and all of the people involved and making sure at the end of the day we have a clean, clear title for the buyers so that they, don't have to worry about any liens or judgments popping up at any point later after they've made this purchase. If you go to the courthouse and you just say, hey, Jordan, I want to buy your house. Let's just go to the courthouse and sign some documents and get it recorded.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's cut those guys out in the middle.
But let's say that Jordan owes $20,000 on something
Yeah.
and it's on his house and he just sold it to you without using title and escrow and without clearing that. Now you inherited his $20,000 debt,
Yeah.
correct?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if it's something that's attached to the property, then yeah, absolutely. Your your buyer now has purchased their debt.
Yeah.
It's like buying a car and there's still a loan on it,
Mhm.
from somebody off the street.
Yeah.
You definitely want to make sure that there is nothing like that,
Mhm.
sitting there, and that's our job.
Mhm.
So the other thing that title and escrow does is the buyer gets then an insurance policy, we can call it. So that policy ensures that we did our due diligence and made sure that there's nothing sitting there lingering that we've missed. And we are human and it does happen.
Yeah.
When it does happen, then of course that's our responsibility to take care of that, for the buyer. So it's nothing that they have to then worry about.
Yeah.
So think of us as an insurance company in a way. Yeah. Title and escrow insurance.
Yeah, and just I love the third party, considering yourselves third party, just somebody that's not, we're not here to pick sides or side with anybody in case something's happening. We're just here for the facts. This is where this goes. This is what happens with this. And you guys are just there.
Yep. And
I like
even
that.
family, you'd be surprised at how much family we deal with, where it's maybe parents selling to their children or whatever might be the case. And they still bring those transactions into us, which is extremely smart. You would never think, and maybe not even purposefully, would a parent, let kids buy the house and leave something on there.
Right.
They I'm sure wouldn't do that on purpose, but there might be something there that they don't know that they need to take
I also
care
think
of.
you never know too.
Yeah, there's probably some people out there, but
there's relationships. I think if you are a child of somebody, if your parent would do that to you. So just to cover your bases, just to be sure, because you never know. go through a title company. It's the best bet.
It's not a huge cost. It is an additional
Mhm.
cost, but it is going to make sure,
Mm.
to cross the T and dot the I
Right.
and give you
Yeah.
an insurance policy that you pay for one time.
Mhm.
You don't have to pay monthly or anything like that. And it's security for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
It's legal. I always think it's the proper way, just
Yes.
based on things that my clients have experienced and stuff.
Mm.
My personal story with using title and escrow myself was that when I bought my house, I used a title company, which I won't name. That's okay.
Tell us.
They're a wonderful title company, but it wasn't Valley Title. It wasn't Valley. So, but when I purchased my home, I had a title policy, used all the things that title and escrow does, right? But after I moved in, it was about a month down the line, I got a letter in the mail from an attorney stating that there was an unpaid lien from the previous owners for windows that were put on my house, and it was somewhere around 11 or 12,000. And the letter was slightly threatening, like, you are responsible for this now. But they said, we assume that you probably used a title company like most people do, and your title insurance should have cleared that. And if you had a title policy there, you should just go back to the title company and tell them what happened, and they'll likely take care of it, file a claim, or talk to the sellers, which when I did that, they were quick to act and they were like, you know what? We did miss that. We somehow didn't see it in the report there, but you don't have to worry about it. We've got it from here. And they tried to go for the seller, I think, to get it resolved. And the sellers were wonderful people. I'm assuming they probably took care of it, but if not, the title company could have had the choice of eating the cost or filing a claim. And I don't know what that's worth to a title company. 11 or 12,000 sounds like a lot to me, but to a title company, I don't know.
might
Maybe,
not be too.
I don't know. So I don't really know how it ended, but what I do know is that I'm really grateful I used a title company. I had the knowledge at being a realtor to do that, but I didn't know the extent of how important it was until I was in that seat. So that's my lesson for everybody.
You
The
didn't
title
have to pay
company.
that money.
No,
which
I
is
didn't.
even
And I didn't
better.
have that money. I just put it into my house.
True, that's
Down
true.
payment.
Some stuff is scary. Getting any letter in the mail from any attorney saying that you have
Yeah.
to pay anything is
And it sounds so
terrifying.
official and,
Mhm.
like a little bit threatening. It was just like, this is your problem now. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh God. Like I knew my first call was going to be the title company.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but for somebody who wasn't a realtor, probably would have been like, oh my God, probably.
And sometimes people might just pay it. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know what the statistics are on, like, if somebody does get something in the mail, let's say they do have $11,000 just sitting there, they
Mhm.
might say, oh gosh, well, I guess I have to pay this now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
well, and I probably also could thank that attorney for letting me know in that letter, you should talk to the title company you
Mhm.
purchased with, because I don't know that they're required to do that.
Mm.
What if they
Yeah.
just said, this is your debt, and they're representing the creditor? The easiest way would probably to get me to pay for it so there's no fighting over it. They
Mhm.
didn't have to do that. So maybe that's some credit for the
And
attorney.
you know what? I think it's good that you went through it versus your client, because
Yeah, I
then
know.
you know what to do. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
you don't have to put that stress on somebody
know.
else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I also think too, like if you're dealing with for sale by owner and they don't want to use a title company, there's something weird. That's
Yes.
definitely something weird is going on, because
Yeah.
title's gonna
Flag.
title's gonna scrub everything. So if there is something on there that needs to get taken care of, which I've seen happen before, then you'd be smart to
Was that
do
with
it.
the land deal you had? Something like
No,
that?
so I had a for sale by owner. It was me and Brandy. She used to work here. She moved to Utah, but shout out Brandy. Brandy and we co-listed a house, and when somebody was buying it, this house was originally purchased for sale by owner from a couple. That couple purchased it from the original owners for sale by owner as well. Well, when we were selling it to this new person, title found that there was, I think it was a lien from the original owners, which were now passed away at this time, but that their kids were still around because title somehow found their kids. They'll find anybody. So then the kids ended up like showing death certificates and, but I don't know how they excused it. But basically the new buyer that, they didn't have to deal with this new debt, but the seller had to pay for all these like recording fees that weren't paid for in the past, because that transaction never went through title. So this would have been the third sale, I think, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, maybe fourth. I don't know. But whatever. She had to pay a bunch of these fees because it never got paid in the past, and they had to get recorded and then redone, recorded and then redone. So it ended up being a big hot mess, and we had to extend maybe by like a week, but it got taken care of thanks to title. So I think it was you guys. Cassandra was my person. She took care of everything.
I'm sure she
So
probably remembers that
she's
one too.
awesome. I'm sure she
Yeah.
does. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that kind of
But
stuff is like that's nightmare fuel. Yeah, I can't
yeah.
even imagine. It's just such a mess, and
Mhm.
especially when you go to sell it and maybe you do use a title company and then all this stuff pops
Mhm.
up. What a mess that probably must have been.
Yeah.
You had told us a story last time about some sellers that had family, somebody
Oh,
died. Can you tell
yes.
that story
Yeah.
again? Because I found that so
It was
interesting.
very crazy. Just kind of a whole another example of every transaction being different. We had a transaction where we had a family that was selling property for their mother, and kind of the gist of the craziness was that these sellers, the heirs, weren't necessarily not being forthcoming. Because we always ask whenever there's somebody deceased selling property, or kids selling property for their
Mhm.
for their family, we always ask who the living heirs are, and they listed living and deceased heirs. And so they listed the heirs, they listed a few of the kids, and then as we dug deeper, we found out there was actually another heir that was deceased, and unfortunately she was killed by her husband. So what does that mean? That means that
Legally, he still has entitlement
Mhm.
to that title.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
To a portion of that, yeah.
Or a portion of that, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So if there's 4 kids, 3 are living, 1 is deceased, but
Mhm.
that deceased individual was married, technically, he has interest in
Mhm.
that quarter of the proceeds for the
Mhm.
sale of the property. So
Which is so like obviously legally it's like, yeah, he's
makes
entitled
sense,
to this. But to the family, it's like, come on, look what he did to our,
Yeah,
sister, and
and
now he
yes.
still gets a portion of
now it's like
whatever.
he's being
Right.
paid for that.
Mhm.
Right. So
That's
for us,
crazy.
like
so
as much as
twisted.
we're definitely, that non-interested
Mhm.
third party, we still have to look at the risk
Mhm.
involved.
Yeah.
And the risk is for us, hey, if you're going to kill somebody, what's to stop you from maybe also trying to
Right.
take another step and
Mhm.
say you want, some of the money from this
Mhm.
poor family, which it's not our job to necessarily say whether or
Mhm.
not that's going to happen, but
Mhm.
regardless of the crime that was committed, we still have to make sure there is still a loose end, right? So
Right.
we had to explain to the family, of course, very delicately, because that is a very sensitive subject, but we had to explain to them what we were kind of dealing with, and they ended up having to, the deceased sister, her estate, because she has an estate, hadn't gone through probate. So I believe that's what ended up happening, is they ended up having to probate her estate. And then those children, I believe, were then in charge of her estate, so they could sign on behalf of her.
Okay.
So that, I believe, is how we were able to button that up. Everything closed on time. What ended up happening there was all of the proceeds went to the attorney handling the probate. So everyone signed, everything closed, everything went fine. The money just kind of sat until that probate was completed in the courts. Man, what a mess for the
The
family.
family.
It's the emotional toll that probably
Yeah.
brought to is probably so hard.
Yes. Yeah, and we deal with that often, where people are selling maybe their childhood home, or they're,
Yeah.
they're somebody who has passed away, and it is a very sensitive subject, but we always have to try to do our very best to handle that with really good bedside manner, because at the end of the day, they're dealing with you, of course, but then
Right.
signings, that whole final moment of putting those signatures down, it can be very, very emotional for
Oh
people.
yeah, for sure.
So of course we always make sure we handle those with care, because it's a big moment. We don't want to get lost in, we do this routinely every day, all day, but there's still some high emotions there. There's people being divorced, or anything could be going on, and you just never know. It's always best when it's, or it's always the easiest, I guess I should say, when it's just like a first time home buyer.
Because they're always so happy. And I always tell people, like, whenever I'm listing a house, especially if it's like someone passed away, I am a very emotional person. So I'm always like, I put the lockbox. I take the pictures. It just makes me so sad. It's so sad, like the reasons, why people move. Obviously, if they've outgrown it, I'm like, oh yay, like you're growing your family. But if someone passed away, I'm like, I'm sorry, I want to hug you, and I don't even know you. But
it's not, but it is real life, and
it is
something we all, in every corner of the industry, we all have to deal with that. That is something that happens often, and it is something that it'll happen. Someday we have to handle that with care, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a random, I don't know, this is not in our notes, but what would you recommend to somebody that has children and that in the case, how do I explain this? If they know, like say they're sick or something, or they're getting older and they want to, maybe
How can they
I don't know,
prepare?
have like a will in place or what? Yeah, how can they prepare? Because I get this question asked a lot.
Mhm.
Mine more so is I have clients that are I-10 clients that are afraid with everything that's happening in the world. And they're like, what happens if we get taken or we get deported? What happens to our house? We're the only ones here. Our children are underage. What happens to our house? How can we prepare in case something were to happen? God forbid. But this is what's happening, right? So what do you like? What would you say to those people? Get a lawyer or?
Yeah, I think we usually tread lightly when giving advice like
Mhm.
that. We can let you know circumstantially, like if this is what my circumstances
Mhm.
are, then we can let you know what we need from you or what we need from the clients
Mhm.
in order to close that transaction. When it comes to that kind of thing, I would always say look at a real estate
Mhm.
attorney.
Mhm.
I'm sure everything is always so different with
Mhm.
each individual case. I would say
Mhm.
talk to a real estate attorney,
Mhm.
and especially just even you're just parents and
Right. And your
just
children are younger. My,
yeah,
my sister, she told me a long time ago, we were on a trip and she's like, you should look into like having something in place in case anything were to happen to you or your husband, like what would happen to your house. And I'm like, oh, don't ask me that. That's scary.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's real life.
it
It's real
is.
life stuff. I hate talking about that kind of stuff. But now that I've experienced, multiple transactions where somebody did pass away and now, everybody's in their feelings, obviously with everything going on. How do we proceed in such a high emotional time?
Yeah, everything's always so different. And a lot of times people do have wills, and maybe somebody just wrote something on a piece of paper.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's we don't know. Did she really? Did he
Right.
really write
Was it
that?
really
Was it
them?
someone else? Have to make sure, of course, that we handle everything legally the correct
Mhm.
way. So I would say if somebody's ill and maybe they don't have the mental capacity
Mhm.
anymore to sign, then there's probably lots of things that you can do to, of course, help that family
Mhm.
member. And one, if they do have property, especially to get somebody in line with a real estate attorney, of course, and
Mhm.
see what kind of signing rights you can help them out
Mhm.
with, because there's going to be lots of stuff maybe on the
Mhm.
horizon for those families, not
Yeah.
just real estate but in other things as well. But
Right.
then once that person does pass away, sometimes those documents they're not valid anymore.
Mhm.
So a power of attorney is done when someone passes away.
Mhm.
That's not going to help you once they've passed.
Right.
So
Mhm.
sometimes that is probably a common thing. You guys probably run into it.
Mhm.
We do all the
Mhm.
time, where someone says, "Well, I have a power of attorney for my mother." Well, if she passed away, then
You
it's
have to
not
become
valid
an
anymore.
executor or a personal representative of an estate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which means most likely, you get that estate
Mhm.
then to go through the probate courts,
Mhm.
and somebody who is of the signing rights out of the heirs, or maybe they're married or whatever it might
Mhm.
be, to make sure that everything is in line. And another thing that we've been running into a lot is if you've ran into one of these situations, to make sure that whoever you are signing on behalf of, do not close their bank accounts. Do not close them.
Oh yeah.
Don't close them.
Mhm.
Maybe wait a year.
Mhm.
I don't know what the rule of thumb is, but just wait, because when we cut checks at the very end for that estate,
Mhm.
we're going to write on the check. We have to. It has to say the estate of
Mhm.
Rachel Stiles.
Mhm.
It can't say,
One to
Jordan or
me and then
anything.
the other half to her.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to have a bank account that you can
Mhm.
deposit those funds into.
Mm.
That's the way we have to
Like
that's the
issue
way
the
we
check.
have to issue the
Mhm.
check. And unfortunately, if families then close those bank accounts, and that could be a problem for them too. So
Mhm.
advice for your clients, if you're dealing with something
Mhm.
like that, do
Mhm.
not let them
Close
close any
accounts.
accounts. Keep them open, because you never know. You could even have a check come in the mail for, you know,
Right.
whatever at any time, 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think eventually you probably should, close them, of
Yeah.
course, but maybe ask again, maybe a real estate attorney or something.
Mhm.
But I would say probably a year, even after you close property, just to make sure that everything
Mhm.
is all buttoned up.
Mhm.
Because if you, I think reopening those bank accounts maybe can be a little bit
Hard
Yeah.
little
or
And I'm sure
not
there's extra
possible.
questions that go into that. Why did you just close that and
Yes.
then reopen it? So
To wrap that up, talk to a lawyer or talk to a realtor and we'll connect you to a real estate attorney.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
and real quick,
absolutely.
before we move on to that though, I do want to ask preliminary title. Why is that important? And what is that for some people listening?
Yeah, so I would say a title report or preliminary title report is going to be something that's going to go over the whole property. It's going to list any liens, judgments. It's going to go over the people,
This is
the
before entering
property.
a contract to sell though, right?
Yeah,
The preliminary.
yes, so that would be something that's going to go over the sellers and it's going to look at the property. So I always I've used reference like in layman's terms of like think about it like a baseball card. It's got all the stats and it's got all the information on there for the property and the seller.
Mhm.
So we really try to encourage agents if they do have a situation where maybe there is somebody deceased to open up a pre-listing title report or preliminary title report so that we can look at it and we can help get you and your clients situated, give them all the information as far as, hey, okay, this is the circumstances. These are the documents that we're going to need in order to allow you to sell property that technically isn't yours. And even if maybe you're dealing with somebody that maybe you don't think is being so forthcoming, or maybe they're kind of like, I don't know, maybe I might have some liens out there or anything like that. Anything in question, for sure, order a pre-listing title report from your title company. If not, do it every single time you're about to list a property. Most of the title companies, I can't speak for everybody, we do not charge for a pre-listing or preliminary title report, even if the transaction doesn't end up in our office. Do we want it to? Of course, but we know that that's not always going to be the case. So it does help everybody, and especially the buyer and the seller. There's no surprises unless something new pops up, but there's not going to be any surprises at the closing table when they're ready to sign and we're asking for somebody's death certificate or something like that. Then they know and they're prepared, okay, we're selling this home. These are the things that we need to make sure we start working on getting in line. And maybe that means taking the estate go through probate courts.
Perfect. That brings us to a tougher topic.
Let's get
So
dark.
part of the reason why we wanted to invite Rachel onto the podcast is because she has a really tough but incredible story that you've lived through, kind of a traumatic experience. So
sure.
we know that you've told this story 100 times, and we're really sorry to make you come back here for a second time to tell it. But, I just feel like you have this completely new, optimistic outlook on life that is admirable. And if you're willing to share that, we'd love to talk about
I'd
it a
love
little
to.
bit.
I will say before you start, Rachel, when we talked about our first guest, which unfortunately you were not our first guest, but
'Cause of some
only
hiccups,
because of technical difficulties. We still love Corey though; she's great. But you were the first person that came to mind. Both of us were like, "Oh my gosh, Rachel!" Because of your mindset and because of what happened to you, and just like he said, now you have a different view to the world than anybody else. So we really are excited for you to share.
Okay.
It's the energy the energy that you put off now is what we want to spread, and that's something that we feel like is important to our shows. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit about what happened.
So let's see here. It's been about a year and a half now. It was June of 2024. I went to bed on a Sunday night like normal. I felt completely fine. I'm a pretty healthy person. I don't have any underlying health conditions. Everything was just completely normal. I went to bed, and at about 12:30 in the morning, my husband woke up because he heard me making a weird noise. Something alarmed him. What we later found out was abdominal breathing. So if you've ever been at someone's bedside when they've passed away, there's a chance that maybe they had like a loud gasp. And it's actually a reflex. I believe I'm probably butchering it. If you're in the medical world, so sorry. But from what I understand, basically it's like your brain's reaction to not having any oxygen. So you'll make this loud gasp. That's what woke my husband up. He found that I was very stiff, and the way my muscles were really locked up, my shoulders, and I was not breathing. So he called 911. They got him to put me on the floor. At this point, my son had gotten into the room. He heard what was going on. It woke him up as well. And my husband gave me CPR with the 911 operator for about 10 minutes. The fire department was the first to arrive, and they found that I had no pulse. And they gave me 2 shocks, an AED or ICD or whatever you call it, and brought my heart out of its fatal rhythm. From there, it was diagnosed as a cardiac arrest. So they flew me to Tacoma to have me treated over there. I have a defibrillator now implanted in my chest, but it was a very traumatic experience. I didn't live through it, meaning I guess I wasn't awake, right? I went to bed and I woke up 2 days later.
No memory of
No memory of it
Mhm.
because I was out. I wasn't awake. And even after they defibrillated me, I wasn't responding, I guess. I was not awake.
You probably just had
And
a pulse again. That was probably it.
Mhm.
right,
Huh.
right. And so they even I have like a bunch of Ring camera footage
Oh my
from
gosh.
my front
Mhm.
door because that was the only way for me to
To
see some of
what
what
was
How
happened.
real it was.
These firemen come in and out of my home, and then EMTs show up. It was really the only way for me to really see it, which was kind of like weird and dark to see me on a
Mhm.
stretcher being
Like
taken
hauled
down the
off.
stairs,
Yeah.
and it was really crazy seeing my family so distraught outside. But yeah, it was a pretty wild thing that happened after I woke up at the hospital. It was like 51st dates because I had technically a brain injury from, depending on who you ask, I died or it
Mhm.
didn't, or, people say I died. I feel like it's,
You did. I
yeah,
mean,
did.
I always kind of joke like, I died, once, I'll do it.
that's not a joke.
Like a cat.
I know, but so it's, so I mean, technically,
No, a cat.
people got 9 lives. I don't know if I'll have
Stop.
we'll see.
Oh no.
But it's yeah, it's just a crazy story. And I woke up, I had short-term memory loss because I had technically brain injury. They needed my brain to relax and recover before they woke me up. So my family were wondering who was going to wake up if
Mhm.
I would I wake up?
Yeah.
Would I be brain dead, or like what was
Would you
the
remember anything?
Or
Would
have
you?
like
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
function. Yeah.
Yep. And talking with like firemen and, thanking them, the gentleman from the ambulance and everything, it sounds that they were all they couldn't believe when they met me afterwards.
That
To
you
me,
recovered.
yeah, it was extremely rare. Some of them have been, doing what they've been doing forever,
Mhm.
10 plus 15 years,
Mhm.
and have never seen or known of
Yeah.
anybody that was a survivor, able to walk away and talk and do everything that was what they call a code save. So
Mhm.
when you code and then you're brought back, but
Mhm.
then just,
You're normal.
yeah,
Like if
you're just doing, yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Because
kind
if I saw you on the street, I'd have no idea.
no.
What before I met you, I think we went to coffee once.
Mhm.
I had no idea. And even then, I think you told me your story and I walked away
Oh,
like,
that's right, because your mom
my
had
God.
something.
Because my mom had,
Yeah.
my mom has AFib.
Right.
So, I mean, I can kind of understand just the trauma because anytime she calls me, even if she calls me at like 10 p.m., I'm like, are you okay? Because I think something's wrong. And she's like, yeah, do you want to come for lunch tomorrow? I'm like, oh, okay, mom, don't call me past like 7, please. You're
Yeah.
freaking me out. I literally tell her, like, please text me. You scare me. And she's like, calm down. But I can totally, understand, obviously not to that extent, but that is, just a crazy story.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's almost
really
like
is.
unbelievable
It
if we
is.
didn't have you here, like telling us.
I know. And so
Yeah.
I guess now moving forward, of course, afterwards, it was a very traumatic thing for my family to deal with because they lived it, right? They were awake. My husband, Matt, is my hero. Like the fireman, of course, brought me back, but he kept my body alive as much as he could for 10 minutes.
Does he have a medical background or no?
No, but he works at Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And because he's a manager there, they have managers do basic emergency training every 2 years. So they have to have that reissued every couple years. So that happened in June. I want to say maybe around March of that same year, he had just redone
Oh my
his
gosh.
2
That
years. So he's a pro.
I just want to say throughout this whole story, my body's just like chills and chills and chills. And that just gave me chills because
Yeah.
I always think everything happens for a reason. So I can't imagine that, him taking that training happened for any other reason other than to save your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I'm so
crazy.
thankful. And as a matter of fact, I have some of the girls at work. We have somebody coming to our office in a couple weeks to do same kind of training with the
Yeah.
exact same guy that
Yeah.
goes to Coke and does that training.
Mhm.
Because if I am ever in a situation where somebody is choking or bleeding, or you run up to a car accident, or even in a cardiac arrest situation, I want to be able to do the very best I can to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your husband and I imagine both of your sons probably had a harder time than you
Yes.
after it.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe not. I don't.
It's I think we all as individuals had maybe a different trauma. the boys and my sons, they don't really talk about it a whole lot.
Mm.
I talk about it a lot because that's kind of how I find some therapy in all of it, I guess. But they don't talk about it a whole lot. And I think after time has kind of gone on, they've realized that, okay, my mom's okay. She's still working out. She's still running. She's still
Yeah.
doing all the normal things. So she's okay. But I think it kind of took a while for the dust to settle, for them to be okay with me being okay.
Right.
My husband, on the other hand, I would wake up constantly and he's either touching me and waking me up
Yeah.
or literally standing at my side of the bed.
Like just making
staring
sure you're
at me.
breathing. Yeah.
Like you would an infant, a brand new baby, just to make sure. The poor guy, he still has a hard time sleeping sometimes. But also men, trying to get men to maybe, go to a therapy or do anything
Figure
like
out
that.
some emotions.
And I'm like, here, maybe, if you want to call this number, but we all talk about it. It's mainly me. I'm mainly the one that talks about it. But for me, the trauma happened later.
Yeah.
Where definitely Matt would go with me to a doctor's appointment. We both would just be crying, talking about it. And we had one of my doctors, made sure he really stressed us. He's like, you guys have been through a very, very traumatic incident in different ways, but also at the same, you should probably look at
therapy.
Get some therapy and talk about it. And I did, and it definitely was helpful to just have somebody really understand or kind of put, like, who am I going to talk to about it that's done it before, that's lived through this? I don't know anybody. So having a therapist talk to me and just say, you're a younger person, and she said, a lot of my clients dealing with this are maybe older and they're towards the end of their life, and they're then now in tune with their mortality, where you're in tune with your mortality at a young age. And so that is traumatic, because then I'm kind of going, oh,
yeah,
it is true that today, tomorrow, none of it's
There's no
promised,
promise,
none of it. And you hear it all the time, every day's a gift, and blah, blah, blah. And you just kind of go, okay, yeah, it is. Yeah, sure. But then, like, when something like this happens and you go, wow, I just went to bed and I felt completely fine.
Yeah.
And potentially could have never woke up. My husband could have woke up with me lying there dead.
Yeah.
My sons could have not had their mom anymore. And the other traumatic part for me was not knowing why.
I think that would be
is no reason why.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with my heart. There's nothing wrong with my lungs, my brain. There's really nothing at all that they can find. We even did genetic testing, which was a definite double-edged sword that, of course, most importantly, there's nothing wrong with my genetics. So my kids didn't have to worry about something like that happening to them. Most importantly, that was really great news. But it also didn't answer any questions for me. That kind of sucked. But otherwise, I had a doctor tell me he's a doctor here in town, and he is a cancer survivor. And I'll never forget, he told me that I'm a cancer survivor. And I often asked myself, why did this happen to me? Why? And the answer is, we don't know why. And he said, just like for you, we may never know why. We're going to do our best to find out why. But if we don't, just like for
kind of have
myself,
to let it go. Right?
you have to keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. You just have to keep going. You just have to keep going. And that really did help me, and helped me understand that it is what it is. I don't know why, but life is going to keep going. The world is going to keep spinning. And I just have to live in today and just be so freaking happy that I'm here, and that I'm here with you guys, and that we're all happy and lovely people and healthy. And it's a great day. So we just have to be happy for it.
That's so huge. I've always been, for a long time, I've been a very, I just think positive. You probably will never see me upset. I don't think Jordan's ever seen me upset. I have moments where I'm a little but I'm never mad or sad, or I always say this to people, nobody's opinion of, me is ever going to make me feel a certain way, because I know who I am, whatever. But it always goes back to, at the end of the day, we literally have one life. Nothing is that serious that you should be upset, that you should let it ruin your life, because life is so short. You just have to keep going. And even if you're going through hard times, I think when you're having a hard time with your health, that's when shit really hits the fan, because you can't control that. So what happened to you, there was nothing in your life that you could have done that could have stopped that from happening. That was always probably going to happen to you. And there's no reason, you just, like you said, you just have to move forward and kind of stop trying to find the answer. I mean,
Right.
obviously you do your tests and just make sure you're healthy, but
Right.
everything else outside of your health, to me, it's always like nothing else matters. I'm not going to get upset because he said, she said. I'm not going to get upset because somebody cut me off, whatever. At the end of the day, like, life is too short and you
Right.
have to move forward and you have to, stay positive
Right.
for your own
Absolutely.
well-being.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I have learned, and I wish I could remember who told me this, but it was really eye-opening, is that the one thing in this life that we can control, the only thing, is our mindset.
Yeah.
So anything that's put in our lap, the he said, she said, they don't
Like,
like
that doesn't
me,
matter. Yeah, that's
how I
weird.
react and the energy I give it is the only thing that I can control, which is really difficult sometimes. I know I have a really hard time with,
Yeah.
putting my energy into the people that deserve it
Mhm.
or don't deserve it or whatever it might be. But it is powerful to know that
Mhm.
that is the thing that we can control. It might be the only thing, but
Mhm.
damn it, if
I'm
that's what
really
I can control, I'm going
yeah,
to do my best to do the right things, not only for the people I'm around,
but
because
for
energy is
yourself.
contagious
Yeah.
too,
Mhm.
but also for myself. Yeah.
So has this experience kind of made you try to fix
Always.
things that you
Mhm.
can control now? Like, has this like made you want to push for those things that you're like, you know what? I don't know why that happened, couldn't control that, but I can control this, this, and this, and I'm going to do better at that now because it's something that I can control the outcome. Like, does it inspire you to do that, or do you just like, I'm just going to take better care of myself? I'm just going to like, what do you think about that?
That's a good question. I guess I haven't really
Like,
ever
does it
thought
push you
about
to
that.
take on other challenges because you know that you can find a why in why you're doing it?
Yeah, I would say being more open to learning something new, to doing something different. Also very cautiously, right? Like sweet little Molly at the front desk loves her little snowboarding and all that. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to start now. Like, no. So maybe some new things I don't want to necessarily do, but it's definitely challenged me that, I want to make sure I live this life to the fullest.
Like a
because-
fulfilled life.
Absolutely. If it ends tomorrow, will I be fulfilled? You don't want to think like that all the time, but it is a reality. But there's definitely a lot of soul searching that I think I've done in the last year and a half. And then also there was a moment there where I'm going, okay, well, you have another chance. Don't screw it up.
It's
What
like, what does
pressure?
that even mean?
What does that put on myself for no reason? I don't know what can I do? Maybe it's just me telling my story. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. I just have to, again, just live in today and be the best me I can be today. And that's really all I can do. And just, yeah, moving forward, it is definitely a challenge of if you overthink it and just kind of think like, oh, I need to have this huge, big purpose and, rewrite history or I don't know. Like I just have to not overwhelm myself or not think so big about it. Cause then that adds a lot of pressure is what I've kind of found. Cause at first I thought, okay, I don't know why this chance was given to me, but I'm not going to screw it up. And what can I do? And what can I do better? Or what is my calling? But all of that is really, really, really overwhelming. And I found that it really
That's
just kind of
actually
added to
good.
my
Yeah.
anxiety.
I
For
think
sure.
it's interesting because we never see ourselves how other people see us. And you're saying all this stuff to me, basically how like, all this pressure and what is my purpose. And in my mind, I already know what your purpose is.
Oh gosh,
Just
tell me,
based
tell
off
me.
like our last conversation. I think you're here to like save other people because your situation happened to you and you survived so that you could be the voice of other people. So this kind of is going to go into this Facebook, post that I saw, this conversation that you had with the fire department, how they were going to close down city council. Sorry. I think that maybe that's your purpose. You're here to save that station, to save other people. And maybe you don't know it yet. Maybe you're not all the way there yet. But I do think your story it might like seem like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? What can I accomplish? Maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's like the lives that you're going to impact just by telling your story. Maybe just somebody that's watching this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
sweet. I
think that's what it is.
you're right.
Because sometimes it's not always like something tangible or something like, oh, I won this award.
Right.
Sometimes it's like somebody's watching you that might be going through a similar situation and like oh, I'm not going to take my life because, like you just never know what people are going
Sure.
through. Your story might be like what they're like, you know what? She's right. She almost died. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through that. Or maybe I am unhealthy. Maybe I want to take care of myself so I don't potentially experience that.
Well, that's very sweet. I appreciate
I
that.
think that's what it is. But I don't know. Who knows? I don't know everything.
And I definitely believe that you're here to tell your story too.
Oh, yeah.
So it does help other people, even if it's hard. But in
Nice.
a way, maybe it is good for you too.
Yeah.
At some point, that probably is like the same thing. Hopefully, it's not like repetitive and it's like, gosh, I'm just tired of telling this.
Yeah.
Don't ever get tired of it. I always like to tell it. It's because it is so crazy. I would want to hear it if I were, on the other end of this table.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a weird thing. It's still just so surreal that it happened.
And
to
it didn't
me.
even happen that long ago.
No.
That was not long at all. For some reason, I thought before like the last episode, well, the one that we almost filmed, I thought that it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but it really was. I mean, it was
Not even 2 years ago.
not even, not
So-
too long ago.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about the fire department?
Yeah.
And why you decided to talk to the city council?
Yeah. So, as I said, and when that all happened that evening or that morning, 12:30 in the morning, when my husband called 911, the first to arrive on the scene were fire station 92 was the very first to arrive, and they did save my life. If it wouldn't have been them, then that means whoever showed up afterwards. I
Mhm.
had another fire department show up after them, and then the ambulance showed up last, and of no fault of theirs because they're
Right.
wonderful gentlemen, and they did the best they could. It just goes to show that our emergency system is already stretched very thin
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
size of the city that we have.
Right.
So if station 92 hadn't shown up, then what does that mean for me? I don't know.
Mm.
Does that mean that that I'm not here? Does that mean that I have brain damage? It's a risk that I don't want any other family to,
Mhm.
have to take.
Hmm.
So what ended up happening was around, I think, November, I had somebody from the Yakima Fire Department reach out to me and said, hey, we need your help. We have a city council meeting. Actually would have been late November, early December, I believe, because in November we had a levy that they
Mhm.
tried to
Budget
pass.
cuts. Yeah.
Yep. And they were trying to tax more. I think it was 50 cents to every
Mhm.
1,000 of the value of your home. So basically, our taxes have already gone up and insurance, everything's gone up. So I think voters just saw another line item
Mhm.
on,
Tired of
they
it.
thought,
Yeah.
no, I
Mhm.
just no more. Like, this
Yeah.
is enough. And I've been guilty of it too,
Mhm.
of seeing, the ballots come through and know this much of what really that means,
Mhm.
and voting based on very little information.
Mm.
It did not pass. And what that meant was then the Yakima Fire Department Station 92 was going to potentially close, which is over on Tieton. It's going to be just west of Rosars on like
Mhm.
maybe 76th
Mhm.
Avenue or so. There's a lot of growing neighborhoods in that
Oh, yeah.
area. There's so much new builds going on. And to have that station closed down, it just does not seem like the best answer. And I
Yeah.
don't think the city
Mhm.
thinks that's the best answer,
Mhm.
but with the money that they have, they just
Mhm.
cannot afford it. And so when they're just looking at numbers, they're seeing that one is the least busy for calls. Well, we could just cut this one out. Well, that's not the answer.
That's not how it works.
That's-
Yeah.
we can't do
Yeah.
that. So the fire department had reached out, asked if I would help, and I said, well, I don't, I am one of the least political people. I wish I followed them more, but sometimes that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole
But,
other thing. We're gonna get into that.
but it's especially locally, we really do need to pay more
Oh,
attention
yeah.
to it, because something like that really hit me in the face of like, wow, this is really, really important. And voters are just, I don't think if I looked at if every one of us looked at that and said, okay, do you really think that this is the best answer? Is it not worth, like for me, I think, I'm gonna maybe get this wrong, I feel like it's like $26 a month, or it's minimal when it means that if you need emergency services to show up to you, your
Mhm.
home, wherever you might be, your family, your loved ones, that we get somebody there as soon as possible. And
Mhm.
if that means we have to spend an extra $20 some a month, depending on the
Mhm.
value of your home, I don't know why anybody would say no,
Right.
that's not worth it.
Right.
So
And I always think think like, oh, it's not going to happen to us. Who cares? We don't need it. We don't need it.
right,
Until you do.
until you do.
Until you do. You never know.
Right.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
the fire department asked me if I said, I'm not going to talk about
Mhm.
politics, but
Mhm.
if you just need me to tell my
Mhm.
story, I'd be happy to do that. It's the
Mhm.
least I could do
Mhm.
for them. So
Mhm.
I told my story to city council, and it seemed to be impactful. There was a couple other people there, of course, that had some life-saving measures, and due to the Station 92 being there for them. And so it was really great to hear their stories as well. But the city council definitely heard everybody. And it sounds like there's going to be another ballot that will come out. They're not exactly sure when. It could be in the spring, summer, maybe even early fall. But they are keeping that station open with temporary measures with some emergency funds, which is really relieving. So
Mhm.
hopefully when that does come back out to vote, that hopefully people have more knowledge of what
Mhm.
the repercussions are should that not pass. And this go around, it sounds like it's going to be 25 cents to the every
Mhm.
1,000 value of your home, of your
Mhm.
property for the property tax increase, but it will serve a purpose and solely just for emergency response. So
Mhm.
just for the fire. So
Good.
we'll see.
So if you
See that.
live in that area, please know that lives are on the line.
That's
Vote
right.
accordingly.
Yours.
It
Yours.
could be literally
Could
yours.
be.
I think people just don't think of, that it's kind of like selfish. Like, oh, I don't want to pay that, because what does that have to do with me? Nothing yet.
Right.
Until you're dying, your parents dying, somebody in your family needs help, somebody broke their foot, somebody, whatever the case is. Then that's when you need them, and that's when you wish they were around, and
Right.
they'll be gone.
Right. It's very
So,
important.
yeah.
And it was wild at hearing a lot of the statistics that fire trucks, firemen show up to
They're
more
quick. Mhm.
emergency, health reasons than they do fire. I think it's like less than 10% of the calls that they go to are
Mhm.
actually a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
imagine if they restricted the fire department from responding to health emergencies and they left it up to ambulances.
That would
Yeah.
be terrible.
Yeah.
People wouldn't make
People
it.
would literally
They just
die.
wouldn't make
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
All the time. It would
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't realize, but I should have known, was that the fire department is funded by the city, of course, but
Mhm.
ambulance, those are all private.
Really?
Yeah, they're all private. It's not has nothing to do with the city at all. We pay for
Mhm.
the fire and we pay for police and that type of stuff, but as far as ambulance, that is a private.
So who
That's why you'll
pays
get
for
a bill.
that?
You'll get a bill in the mail if you go in an ambulance. You'll get a bill.
And what if you
But
don't
I never
pay it?
saw an ambulance bill.
Yeah.
I think it's like a
Goes to
medical
collections,
bill.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I never got a bill from the fire department,
Oh my gosh.
but I pay my taxes. So then
Yeah.
that's where I guess the bill is paid. But
Yeah.
yeah, you get a separate bill from your ambulance, which again, I was like, oh, how did I not know that? But yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
crazy
That's
stuff.
crazy.
So
We should shake it off.
I know.
life goes on.
Yes.
Yeah.
You moved forward. You are really big into CrossFit every day.
No, 5 days a week in
That's
the
still a
perfect
lot.
That's
world.
still-
in the
No, that's-
perfect,
Still a lot.
I try. In the perfect world, I'll go 5 days a week.
Was it hard for you to get back into physical fitness after what happened? Were you afraid to get your heart rate up?
So that was definitely something that was in question, but thankfully, again, because there's nothing wrong with my heart, then
The doctor
the
said,
doctors were like,
yeah.
go for it. Just, there's no limitations. They didn't necessarily want me to just jump right in and,
right, probably
go
be
wild.
gradual. Yeah.
Right. So because I have a defibrillator implanted in my skin, which I don't know if to see it. It's right
Mhm,
there. You can
mhm.
see the little. So that is my little, savior. If something were to go south, if
Mhm.
my heart were to go into a fatal rhythm, then it will shock me and it will hopefully get the
Put it back
get the
into
ticker back where
back
it
in
needs
place.
to be.
Something I was going to tell you, you mentioned Molly and her
Oh,
snowboarding adventures
yes.
and all that.
Yeah.
She does snowshoe tours on Saturdays. If you
She's
don't,
not-
if you don't want to do the snowboarding for a day, which is really hard too, it is.
Mhm.
But if
I'm
you do
like,
CrossFit,
don't
you're
you
probably gonna be
guys
fine.
Yes.
wild?
But
No,
you should do
kidding.
the snowshoeing. I did that with her,
Yeah.
and it was $65, and they give you like food and drinks at the end. But it's not hard at all. It's like 2 miles. If you can walk 2 miles,
Yeah.
it sounds like it would be hard being in snow, but wasn't.
She mentioned that
It's
to me
really
too, and I
loud,
have
so
gone. It was a long time ago, but I really would
it
love
was
to go
fun.
again.
Yeah, it was a really fun time.
Are those still going on for a bit
I
now, you
think
think?
so. I
I think
think
she only
so.
has a
Yeah.
couple weekends left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be really fun. That would be
Yeah.
a fun time.
Yeah, it was really fun. I would do it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't know if I would do it. That sounds too cold.
I know.
it is a little bit, but like when I was done with it, when I took
We
my
felt
snow
warmth
gear
while we were
off, my
sweating.
clothes were like literally soaked underneath
my
from
gosh.
sweat.
Oh
I
my
didn't even
God.
realize I
Because
was
you're working.
sweating. But
Because you're, yeah,
and
it's
then
your
being in
exercise.
like snow pants and stuff, it just traps in all the heat. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, my sweats were like soaked underneath, just sweat.
Gosh.
It was weird, but it was
Like a cold
fun.
sweat.
Yeah, I was proud of myself after
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
felt really good on my way home. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna sleep so good tonight.
The last time I did that, I had my friend's 2-year-old on my back and on a pack.
Oh my God.
And I don't even know how far we went, but I just remember my hip flexors like just pulling my out
No.
afterwards, and then having like a
Yeah.
toddler
Like
that I
a-
carried the whole time because she had twins, and so yeah, that was. I
Thankfully,
remember,
this
oh my
one is
gosh.
pretty level, but I could
Mhm.
only imagine having to do that uphill. That'd be so
Yeah.
hard.
I bit off way
Wow.
more than I should have chewed there.
Okay, real quick, your thing that
Mhm.
shocks you, that's basically the same as the
AED. pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
You know, the first ever episode of AFib that my mom had, I took her into the hospital and watched her get and that's why I'm traumatized.
Oh my
The patch.
gosh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Super.
Wow. Just because she was in a weird
Because
rhythm.
she was well, this was the first time it ever happened. I think her heartbeats were like in the 160s, 180s.
rest.
At rest, all she was doing is just like laying there. So it was pretty elevated, and they were like afraid it would go into like stroke or something, or I don't know what.
Mhm.
And yeah, they asked her, like, they ask you every time we've gone into the hospital multiple times after that. But now it's so like routine that I'm just like, okay, if she's not presenting other symptoms, I know she's gonna be okay. But yeah, they asked her all these questions, and they're like, we're gonna do this to you. Are you okay with that? And I didn't realize what was happening because everything happened so quick. And I'm like, what if they would have shocked it into like no rhythm? Like, is that a thing? I don't know.
No idea.
I'm not a doctor, but yeah, super traumatizing.
So if you
So
weren't ready for it.
I was not. I was
Yeah.
like, I thought she was having like a heart attack. I was like, what the hell's happening? So yeah, very traumatic.
It is wild. And my husband and son left the room when they did that to me, but I
Oh,
guess it got pretty intense pretty quick.
Yeah,
And like
no,
just
I-
started cutting everything off and got right to it.
Mhm.
And yeah, did it twice. The first one didn't work,
Mhm.
but
I think same. Yeah, they did it multiple times, and then she was fine.
wow.
Yeah, and then now instead of doing that, they just give her medicine. I even know the medicine that they give her. I can even, if she's sitting here and she's having an episode, I can tell her, take this medicine, and within a couple hours she's back to normal. That's how like obsessed I am with this, with this illness, because now I've studied it so much. But yeah, it's very, very scary. I can't imagine what your husband went through just mentally.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's sad,
But
but
he's your hero, and I love
yeah,
that.
I know.
Mhm.
So now she's gonna
Yeah.
get away with murder forever because
But don't murder anybody, please.
don't murder anybody. Be a good guy.
Yeah, be a good person.
But still, yeah, it's you're very traumatizing, or just the fear,
Or just
maybe,
the
of just
fear.
what happened to your mom. That
Yeah.
was really a scary thing. But
Mhm.
like, just going to the doctor,
Just
following up.
cardiologist. Yeah,
That's good.
Mhm.
Good.
And I always get her in trouble for
Put her on
eating
blast.
things she's not supposed to eat. 'Cause AFib can be triggered by anything. And if she doesn't take her meds, this last time, literally, we were supposed to go on a trip. I was supposed to go on a trip with him, and I had a bad feeling, and I didn't go, and I had to take her to the hospital that day. And I'm like, Mom, you haven't taken your blood pressure medicine, because she also has diabetes. Sorry to air her out right now, but I was like, Mom, you didn't take your high blood pressure medicine for the last 3 days. What do you think's gonna happen, lady? Come on, take care of yourself. So like things like that. This is why, like, when people are sick, or when people are, I get it, you don't want to take care of yourself. You don't want to do the right thing. You don't want to eat healthy. But it's literally your life is on the line. What are we doing? Quit messing around. Take care of yourself. That's mom.
Yep.
That's me with her.
Sometimes somebody's got to kick them in the
Mhm.
pants.
And it's me.
going.
Yeah.
That's good.
Tough love
That's
is
good.
hard.
Tough
You
love.
gotta-
And if I love to love anybody, it's gonna be tough love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they need sometimes.
Mhm.
So before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about just kind of your life outside of work and outside of this story and stuff. You spend a lot of time with your husband and your kids and your dogs, right?
Yes.
Do you guys
yes.
travel much?
Not as much as we would like. We're hoping we'll be able to travel here quite a bit, hopefully once we get our home paid off. So
Mhm.
Nice.
We're
That's a
just
good goal.
yeah.
Time for a
Otherwise,
new
we
one.
say-
I'm just kidding.
I know.
We know
right?
some
You know
realtors.
someone? Oh, send them over to us. We got the contract. But yeah, we stay pretty busy. The kids are now finally like big, they're getting older,
Mhm.
so it leaves us kind of more time to each other, which is really great.
Mhm.
But it is also a little sad sometimes when the house is quieter.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it gives us time to kind of do what we want to do, which is kind of fun. But
Mhm.
hopefully traveling soon. Otherwise, we both go to Pilates in the morning, a couple days
We
a week.
love.
We both go to CrossFit together. So he's my best friend. So
Mhm.
if I'm not at work, I'm usually with him and we're doing something fun, or we're just sitting at home watching Netflix. And yeah, but we watch lots of sports, definitely big into that.
Mhm.
Amazing Super Bowl the other day. That was so
Yeah.
cool.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. I'm the only Patriots fan. Probably
Wow,
Yak-
I had
Probably
no idea. I'm
Yakima.
sorry to bring it up. I'm so sorry.
Actually, Rachel. I'm kidding. No, it's okay. I mean, I really don't know anything about football. I'm actually just was there for Bad Bunny. I don't care about anything
Oh,
else.
halftime show. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Was
care who won. I don't care who lost. The Sea Lions,
Yeah.
I don't know, the Patriots, whatever. I'm just kidding.
I had no idea. I'm sorry. I'm just this dad.
No, it's okay.
Or your
It's
husband,
okay.
I guess.
Yeah,
was
he's
one who's
he's
really
the Patriots fan. I'm just like, okay, cool. Bad Bunny's done. Can I go home now? Like, why am I here? Why am I watching this?
Did you have a favorite commercial?
I'm trying to think. No, I think there was one. I thought the Pepsi one was kind of like cool because now, what's going on with the polar bear? You traitor! I'm actually a Coke fan. I like Coke,
At a girl.
Kind
but
of like by default, we have
Oh,
to
I
be Coke
know.
fans.
oh,
Yes.
yeah,
My dad works there and her husband works
Oh,
there.
that's funny. No, I love Coke. I just think the taste is not as sweet. Pepsi, I think, is a little too sweet for me, but my mom's ride or die Pepsi. But I was like, huh, that's interesting. What's happening there? What's the drama?
I know. I feel
I don't
like I must have missed that one. Which
Because I think the
Oh,
polar bear
so
is
that one ahead of time,
technically always Coke, right? And it switched and it made
Yeah.
a commercial with Pepsi.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I saw the
Mhm.
spoil. I did see that.
Mhm.
Well,
I did
that's
see that. I
their,
saw the
that was
spoiler
their kind of their
before.
jab at Coke. They did that on
Oh,
purpose.
I wondered if that actually was going to be aired because my husband showed it to me. He was like, "Look at this."
Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. Why
Mhm.
would they do that?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
a little jab at them, like trying
Yeah,
to take
I
their
think the wars are beginning. So we'll
oh
see
my
what
god,
Coke
stay
does next
tuned
year.
in the beverage
Mm.
industry."
There was one
Interesting.
commercial, I can't remember the company it was, but they did like this karaoke thing of Backstreet Boys.
Oh
singing.
yeah,
I
we
was
were
like
all
sitting-
singing.
I was
Me
like,
too.
they just got like the whole world singing the
Yes.
Backstreet Boys
Me
in
too.
unison. That might be like a record. That's
Somebody
Yeah.
somebody in the family is like, did you guys change the channel? And I'm like, what is this? What is going? It was like a Bitcoin thing or like a
Oh, yes.
Coinbase. It was
Yes.
Coinbase.
Yeah, I
But they
thought
got
that was
the
really
whole.
creative.
My whole house was singing.
Mhm.
Everybody was in it, and then it
That's
was
so
over. I was like, "Dang, I guess I couldn't afford
Yeah.
another $5 million for
Yeah.
another 15 seconds or
right.
whatever."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
It was good though. It was. I mean, I don't know. The game I thought was kind of boring because the Patriots
Until
were
the
not.
end.
Yeah, they were not doing much. So I was really actually bored. I already don't really care for football. Sorry, guys. I love Bad Bunny. I've been to 3 of his concerts. I went all the way to Puerto Rico to watch him. So yeah, I'm a huge Bad Bunny fan.
That's so funny because I almost
And it
texted
was
you.
amazing to do.
Are you watching?
Mm.
What's up?
Yeah, and everyone's watching it. I'm just like, yeah, and my
Yeah.
husband's like, stop, whatever.
No, he did
It
a
was-
great job though.
it was a good
Great.
time.
A great
It was
show.
such a good show.
No, I don't speak Spanish, but
Mhm.
I have.
But that's
Yeah.
why he brought Lady Gaga, and that was
Yeah.
like that was good.
Mhm. Which was
So
so
good.
unexpected. I did not expect to
And
see her.
Ricky
Which I didn't even know that was him. To be honest,
He's
I was
so
like,
good.
who is that? J Balvin? I'm like, who is that? And then someone's like, it's Ricky Martin. I don't know what that guy looks like, to be honest. I'm not a
but
huge fan.
Ricky, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
he's aged like
Yeah, he's like fine wine.
yeah. Men age like wine, we age like milk.
I've heard
It's
that.
so
I've heard that
frustrating,
before.
but
I'd like to be some chocolate milk.
exactly. I gotta get to the tea.
Yeah.
Well, I heard something once that milk that ages becomes yogurt, which is more expensive than milk. And then yogurt that
Ooh.
ages becomes cheese,
I love
which is more
cheese.
expensive. But yeah, you guys are getting more.
We're good.
We just have a little milk phase.
Yeah,
The best is yet to come.
Yeah,
I
we're
like it.
just evolving.
I love it.
That's so funny. Well,
Yes.
Rachel, thank you so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
on the podcast.
you.
I think that's probably all we have today.
That's
but
all. Thank you guys for watching.
If there's anything you
Mm.
learned from this episode, I would say use a title company. Don't take your days for granted, and go Hawks.
And go Bad Bunny.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Go Bad
Hawks.
Bunny.
Yeah.
Little shout out to Cooper Cup. Super proud of you, buddy. That was amazing.
You know, I went to high school with him.
You did?
But he's younger than me. I was never his friend or anything.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I tell people that, they're like, "That's so cool," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." But when
Yeah.
I went to high school with him, he's just like a skinny boy.
Yeah.
So I
know.
didn't think he was gonna become this like,
Yeah.
which is cool. That's amazing for him. But
Yep.
yeah, when I saw him like on the field or like an interview they did, I said, "That's Cooper Cup. Wow, that's not the same Cooper Cup I remember, but it's super cool."
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on the pod, Cooper. We know you're watching.
That's right.
He wants to buy a house, I'm sure. Yeah.
Hopefully so. He
Anyways.
probably has.
He probably has.
Probably does. All right,
Okay,
everyone. Well, thank you for watching
bye.
another episode of Off the Market Confessions. Till next time.
Bye.